Hi, I'm Dr. Mel from the Centre of Wellness in Parkmore, Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm a general practitioner and I work every day in a medical clinic. And during COVID times, I've been wandering around doing shopping in places like Pick n Pay and Woolworths, and I see a lot of people walking around with gloves on. And I feel really strongly about communicating with you what gloves are doing. And I'm really concerned that they're a false sense of security and in fact, in some cases, causing harm. Now, why would I say that? Why were gloves developed in the first place? Gloves were developed to protect both the wearer and the patient from certain things. So in the era of bloodborne diseases, when I'm doing a procedure on you and there is blood, when I'm wearing gloves, it temporarily protects my hands from being exposed to a patient's blood. That's really important when bloodborne diseases can be transmitted somehow onto a doctor's hands, maybe through a wound and through touching. So gloves are really essential to protect the doctor often from bodily fluids. There are certain circumstances where you can get completely sterile gloves in a pack, and what these do is that they also protect the patient from possible environmental pathogens that may be on your hands. The gloves are really important, but in a medical environment. So I want to describe when COVID came around, suddenly there was this big drive to wear masks, and in some cases for people in the everyday world to put gloves on. What has that done? So I'm going to do a little mock situation for you. I'm going to pretend that this very scary looking fluid, which is actually just iodine, it's a sterilant. I'm going to pretend that this is COVID that is on my hands, that somehow I've touched something in the environment and now I have COVID on my hands. Okay, that's a real life environment. I've got it now, I'm in the shopping center, I've touched something, and as I go along, you can see that my hands get really mucked and full of COVID. They stick around. Perhaps I pick up my phone, now it's on my phone. Perhaps I touch my handbag and it's everywhere. So let's have a look. We now take some sterilant, like you do at the beginning of a store, and you've kind of mushed it around, and it takes a couple of minutes for the sterilant to work and actually kill bugs like COVID. It takes a few minutes. So don't go now and touch your face. The most important thing to remember, please, COVID does not have legs. It can't move around. It relies on you transplanting it from somewhere like your hands onto surfaces, and then those surfaces being touched by someone. But COVID doesn't spread through your hands. It can't go through my skin and do anything. What it relies on is, my nose is itchy and I've just touched my nose. COVID is now there and I'm able to breathe it in. Maybe I touch it to my mouth, and now it has the opportunity to enter my body. So what we are doing when we're spraying ourselves, we're trying to kill the COVID that's on our hands, but most importantly, more important than anything, is actually to wash it off. You don't want to wait for those few minutes for the sterilizer or the alcohol to work or the hand sanitizer. You want to wash it off, because in that way, you're washing the COVID down the drain. So let's go watch hand washing. So now good soap, hand washing. Let's just say the COVID was on my hands, right? The only way I can truly get rid of it is to wash it off. So you first need to give a good rub, get into the fingers, get between the fingers, go up onto your wrists, because wherever it is, you're trying to dislodge it, and then you're trying to get it down the drain. So at the moment, all of that COVID, whether it's alive or dead, is going down my drain. And then when I touch my face or other surfaces, I'm not transmitting it anywhere. Let's look over here. Throw away towels, because if we all dry our hands on the same towel, well, it's possible COVID's sitting on the towel. So let's go back and have a look at what gloves do. So now let's talk about gloves. So you go out, you go spend your money, and you have a little box of gloves around, and you decide that the best possible way to protect yourself, other than your mask and social distancing, your best idea is, I'm going to put gloves on. Wherever I go, I'm going to wear gloves. and that's somehow going to protect me. So you put your gloves on, right? And you're about to go into the store. And you go in now and you do your shopping. And as you go along, let's just say, somewhere along the line, you touch COVID. Okay, and it's on your gloves. And you're like so cool now because you've protected yourself, right? And you go and you pay at the till and you push the buttons and you still have COVID on your hands. You carry your bags to the car, you still have COVID on your hands. Because somehow I'm seeing a lot of people wearing gloves. You're not sanitizing, you're not putting hand sanitizer on, but you're walking around all day with COVID on your hands. If you touch your face, it's the same scenario. You've got COVID on your face, you've given it a route of entry, and you have these gloves on. And guess what? You get into your car, and instead of doing the right thing, because the right thing, if you are going to wear gloves, you put them on as you enter the store, you shop, and at the exit, you take your gloves off and you throw them in the dustbin, because then you've thrown the COVID away. The problem that I'm seeing is people walking to their cars, unpacking, driving home, same gloves on. They're wearing them the whole day. The COVID's still on your hands, it's now on your steering wheel. You get home, you unpack everything into the kitchen with gloves on your hands. Or you're out for 2 or 3 hours going from shop to shop to shop with your COVID gloves on your hands. And what are you thinking? Because you don't wash your hands when you have gloves on. A lot of the time, you're not going to use hand sanitizer. So these gloves, if they're not used in the right way, are the greatest way to spread COVID. So my last word of advice to you is, it's not that you shouldn't necessarily wear gloves. If they make you feel happy, do it. But remember what the gloves are for. They're for very quick, short use in an environment where you think you're going to be touching a lot of COVID. And now, as I leave the shopping center, although the one shop, okay, take the gloves off, throw them straight into the dustbin. They're away from you. All of that exposure is away from you. And now, just in case, you still give yourself a nice squirt and you're good. So the two alternatives are quick use gloves that you use them in the right way, throw them away often, or lots of sanitizing, and the best thing of all, wash your hands. Throw the COVID down the drain, get it away from you. And don't forget, wearing your mask stops you from touching your face. So don't get the COVID into the area where it's most likely to infect you. Stay away from gloves unless you know how to use them. Thanks from Dr. Mel.